If you're poor, you'll always be poor.
That's really hard for people to understand.
Yeah, the money will disappear that fast. Just like most pro athletes, they make millions of dollars, and 65% are bankrupt 5 years later. It's because they come from poor families. Now you tell them that, they get very angry at you. It's not, it's the rich fault. It's you guys ripped me off and government ripped me off. But unfortunately, what Mr. Lipton was saying, it's passed down genetically. That's the frightening thing. So what Mr. Lipton was saying, what Trump and I are saying, and what Jim Rickards and Nomi Prinz, we're saying we got to change what we teach our kids.
Right. Try to change that soul, that DNA, and introduce a real different mindset.
Yeah. The only debt they know is bad debt, which is credit card debt. Yeah. And when you walk into the airport, well, hey, get my credit card here, we'll give you airline miles and all that. Well, that's stupid debt. Yeah. And that's where most people are at. So when I say I'm 300 million in debt, the brain is not sophisticated enough to transfer into, well, maybe he's getting rich on that money.
Yeah.
So debt and taxes make the rich richer. Mm-hmm. And for the average middle class person, even if they have a PhD, they should live debt free. So that's why when your teacher says you go to school, get a job, you say, I think I'll think a little bit differently this time. Now you need a job in interim, but you want a job for the experience. That's the difference. So the reason Rich Dad's lesson number 1 is rich don't work for money is I never want a paycheck. I want to use debt, and I don't want to pay tax. I pay some tax, but minimum tax. But I want to accumulate this so I have cash flow.
Are you Robin Hood, taking from the rich and giving to the poor?
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe in giving to the poor.
But you're giving knowledge to the poor.
Yes, that's a very big difference. You see, people say, well, why don't you give the poor money? So the only problem with that is it just creates more poor people.
Give a man a fish, he fishes for the day, or eats for the day.
Yeah, you give a man a fish, you get a lot of people who want more fish, but you teach them to fish.
But you are the Robin Hood of knowledge, because I see you giving this knowledge out, and do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Robin?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Right. Keep them poor. But, unfortunately, the poor, as was in the Bible, I'm not real religious, the poor will always be amongst us, because it starts up here.
Right, it's that fear mentality.
It's in their words, and the words become flesh. Again, I'm not really religious. I flunked out of Sunday school also. But when they say I can't afford it or I can't do that, they go down. They become what they say. A question I ask all over the world, what does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake. That's not an accident. I knew that, most people know that. But the way to keep the poor and middle class working hard is never teach them what the rich know. They use debt, they pay no taxes. That's why McDonald's is a big company, whereas what most people do is they start, mom and pop hamburger stand, and they work really hard and pay earned income. Or the favorite one is the rich are greedy. It's the poor that are greedy. If you think about it, because to be rich, you have to give something. I have to produce books and games, and I purchase real estate, I provide housing, provide jobs and all that. That's why I'm rich. But greedy people produce nothing. Oh no, it's the rich that are greedy. And I'm going, hey, sports fans, you point a finger forward, 3 are pointing backwards. And so as we know, there's a big attitude problem against the rich today.
I had a guest on my show recently and he said, poor people are selfish. Hit a lot of people below the belt. And he said, no, think about it. These people are selfish. They're always complaining about their problems. They're always focused on their own issues. Yeah. You agree with that?
Well, the way you get rich, you solve other people's problems.
Right. That's how you create value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you could cure cancer today, you'd be a trillionaire. You'd be an instant trillionaire. Nah, I'm just too busy to work on that. I think I'll play golf instead. And then I went into real estate. Why? Because I can use debt to buy real estate. And because I use debt, I pay no taxes. And then third, I started my business, my first real business. I had many businesses as a kid, but my first real business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And I went worldwide right away. The trouble is I was an idiot, and the business went up, and the business came down. What kept me alive was this and this. Okay. So you may say, well, aren't you working for money? But we'll go into that next. I don't want what's called a paycheck. If you're not willing to study, don't do it. Like, people ask me about cryptocurrency. I go, should I invest in cryptocurrency? I said, look, you're asking the idiot. I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't invest in it. I have no plans on investing in it. And they go, why ask somebody like me who knows nothing?
Yeah.
But ask me about real estate, I know something about. Ask me about debt, I know about tax, because that's the game. So I had my rich dad's lesson, the rich don't work for money, in my head. I said, okay, I'm making all this money, I have a secure job, but what's beyond that? And that's where education comes in. So if I could explain this to you for the rest of the millennial lessons, it's really going to be on this theme here, because financial education is about not working for money. Like, one of the first questions when I finally realized what my rich dad was saying, I said, well, when do I never need a paycheck again? See, my goal wasn't, go to the moon or, cure cancer. My job was, when would I never need a paycheck again? Because as long as you need a paycheck, be it from an employer or like my poor dad, he was so afraid of losing his government pension. And I'm going, Jesus, what a way to run your life. Your pension? So my old man kind of got fired. He lost his pension. It was the most frightening thing in the world to him. He had no pension. Then it was Social Security, which is even worse. So that's why my goal when I was about your age, a little older, around 25, I said, my goal is to never need a paycheck again from anybody, even the government. I don't want any Medicare, Social Security, or whatever. Well, I was a military pilot. So, you got to get the military pilot pension. I said, you do, but I'm not going to. I think my father was making about $20,000 a year. And when I graduated from school, from college, I was making $120,000 a year. 6 times the amount he made. And I was 21 years old. And he goes, how'd you do that? I said, I didn't go to the same school you went to.
You used your mind in a different way.
No, I just followed my heart.
Okay.
I went to school to be a ship's officer, to sail. So I sailed all over the world. And back in, this was in the 60s, if you sailed into the war zone, Vietnam, which I did, you got double the pay and no taxes. So that's how I was making $120,000 a year. And I come back, my father's still making $20,000 a year. I'm making $120K. And he can't understand it because he's a poor man in mind and in soul. He says, you've become like one of those rich guys. And I said, just because I have money? I'm in the war zone, I'm doing this. Every time they cheer for taxing the rich, they're the ones who get taxed. The rich don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
And so if you understand that, then you can wake up. See, my whole shtick, rich dad, poor dad, is just about financial education. Then there's financial education, and a subset of that is financial literacy. Can you read a financial statement? The average person doesn't even know what a financial statement is. And then financial IQ. IQ is measured on the size of the money problem you can handle. So when I was a kid, $5 was beyond my IQ because I didn't know how to get $5.
Yeah.
And today I would say my IQ is measured around 50 million. So I can solve a $50 million problem and the average person can't even pay the rent.
Yeah.
So that's what our school system is lacking. This is what most people have because they went to school, they got a job. And then this is what the rich really have. It's passive, and it's because I'm an active investor. I don't buy this because this is passive investors. I am active and I'm professional in all of these areas. So I work for passive income, which means I'm not here. The check comes in, the checks come in every year, and you've seen Kim and I, and your mother now, she's working on here. And so your mother's income keeps going up, your father's income keeps going up, and they don't have a job. That's what they did, right?
Yes.